Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys so much for the support in my last video. I was so overwhelmed with the amount of love that I got, the amount of support that I got. People would just randomly text me, DM me, call me, and just tell me they're watching my video, and just sharing so much love and just so much positive feedback. And I was just so elated because, like I said, it had been a long time coming. So the fact that it was so positively received by so many people meant the world to me. So this video is basically going to be my 1 month update, and I'll also discuss why I moved, my thought process during the time, just how everything went on my end, as well as include clips that you guys might have already seen in the beginning. So yeah, I'm just gonna dive deep into the process of moving, what it's like to live in New York versus Houston, my 1 month update. I'm gonna share my feedback at the end, but yeah, overall, it's just been a great experience. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Okay, so I have like my notepad here. I just wrote a whole bunch of notes so I don't get distracted. So I hope that doesn't, distract you guys if I look down or anything. But okay, so I moved to New York after I graduated college. I went to Georgia State in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'd grown up in Georgia my whole life. So I knew that I wanted to basically move to a bigger city that would enable me to still, work and further my career. So I was fortunate enough in June 2019 to get a job offer, and I was able to work for a firm up in New York City. I lived in Brooklyn, and I was so excited. Like, this was a dream come true. Like, I just felt like God had literally taken his hand and picked me up from like a rut almost, and it placed me in a place that he knew I would thrive in so many ways. Having lived in New York was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life. It instilled so many characteristics in me that I wouldn't have been able to gain if I hadn't been put in such a environment. New York is not all it's cracked up to be. What you see in the movies and your little 3-day vacations, baby, that's not real life, okay? It's not easy living up there, especially by yourself. Even if you have the support of your friends, it can still get difficult, right? I'll also make sure to mention that my experience was a little bit tainted because I am from the South, so I was a transplant. I was not born and raised in New York, so I was not accustomed to their lifestyle up there, and I wasn't really prepared completely, right? Of course, I'd taken like the mini trips, mini vacations and stuff, but I was not aware of what it would really be like to live there. And you won't be unless you actually do, right? And this is kind of like the North in general. So that was what it was like when I first moved there. I loved it, and honestly, I still love it. New York isn't like my heart beats for it, you know what I mean? But I moved in 2019, like I said. The following year, 2020, March 2020 was when the pandemic hit, right? So we were all asked to work from home. Mind you, I had 3 roommates, so it was basically 4 of us in a house all day, every day. I could not do it. I couldn't do it. I'm sorry, not a house, it was an apartment. It was a 4-bed, 2-bath apartment. I can't remember how many square feet, but I just couldn't do it. I knew I was gonna go crazy. They told us to work from home, I think the 3rd week in March. The 4th week in March, I booked a 1-way ticket home, back to Georgia to stay at my mom's house because I was like, I cannot do it. I was like, I need air, I need space. Like, no one moves to New York to be inside. The reason we pay, $1,000 to rent a room, a 4x4 square foot room, is because we know that our experience outside is worth it, right? But yeah, so I booked a 1-way ticket home, and that was a great decision. I was able to be with my family. We would work out together and cook together, and that'd been the longest time I've been home. So I didn't expect it to be as nice as it was, but it was really nice. Yeah, so I went home March 2020 at the end, basically April 2020, and then I had to come back to New York because my lease was up in the apartment I was staying in, so I had to move to a different apartment. So in June 2020 was when I came back to New York, and I moved all of my stuff into my new apartment. Still in Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn girl. I love Brooklyn. I just would never live in Manhattan. It's not for me. This apartment was everything. I had to find an apartment that was basically going to allow me to still stay sane while working from home during a global pandemic. I knew what I needed for myself at this time, so I made sure to get that in my new apartment. And I'll include clips, you might have already seen them. But it had floor-to-ceiling windows. It had a rooftop that allowed me to work out, because working out was and is a big release for me. Basically therapeutic for me. So I needed to have that because, you know, gyms were closed and everything. So I needed to be able to be outside when I wanted to. So honestly, my apartment was a blessing at the time. I was so happy to be there. Working from home was smooth. I had a computer obviously set up and everything was really efficient. Like I was really happy to be where I was at that time, right? But then came fall. Now, during the fall, it gets colder in New York, obviously, so you can't, you know, working out on the rooftop is not an option anymore because it's 50 degrees, you know, it's cold, right? And everyone's home now, right? No one's really traveling anymore. So it's like you're home with your other people, a dog, and you're just inside all day. Nothing was really open. If they were open, the hours were really irregular. So it didn't really, because New York went through a phase where, you know, businesses were opening and they're like, okay, actually, no, we're gonna shut everything down. And then actually, just kidding, we can, you know, open again. You can dine inside, but like you can't really dine inside, but like you have to buy a drink. So many regulations, rightfully so, COVID, like it makes sense. But basically there were so many restrictions going on all over the state, and it just made it really difficult to be able to like meet with people, even friends who maybe you want to go to each other's houses or hang out and stuff. It'd just be really difficult because like you don't want to expose yourself to people, or some people have, like I said, a bunch of roommates. Some people were traveling a lot. So it just made it really hard to see other people during that time of isolation. And that took a toll on my mental health completely. I just felt very stuck, like very stagnant, physically, mentally. Although I was very grateful to have the job I was working in, I couldn't even really go home for a long period of time anymore because at that time I had gotten a new job and they needed us to be in the office about once a week. And actually they even told us to not really even travel. Like they kind of put a travel ban on us as well as employees because they didn't want us to expose anyone that one day that we'd be in the office, right? So I just felt very, very stuck. I really did feel like I had seasonal depression during that time. And I don't know, like that was just a really hard period for me. Like I'd just be in my room all day, literally. Like I couldn't really go anywhere. There was nowhere to go. I went to the deli and that was about it, right? So that was a really hard time for me. And thankfully the holidays came around, you know, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and my birthday falls around that time as well. So that was, I was so grateful to be home and with family and friends during that time, the friends that I grew up with. And the holidays were a beautiful time. Thank God for the holidays. And when I came home, I knew that I had to really change, like fight for change for my current situation, fight for my mental health as well. I was like, baby, we gotta do better. It's a new year. You're 1 year older, 1 year wiser, you know, you have this opportunity to kind of just make things shake in your life, change things up as you feel fit. So I knew I only wanted to live in New York for 2 years, and January of the beginning of this year, 2021, would have made a year and a half, right? So I started brainstorming. I was like, where can I move to in the South that will allow me to still have a good standard of living and, you know, pay me the same salary or really higher than my current job was paying me. I knew I was going to stay within the same role for the most part, so I just tried to figure out where I could basically get a higher salary than New York was paying me at the time, right? So I looked at all the major cities. I'm from Atlanta. I went to school there, so I obviously didn't feel like I needed to move back there because I already had connections there. Miami was a city I thought about very briefly. My brother actually lives there, so I was like, yeah, that's a no for me. So those two were out, and then other than that, I just started to look at Texas because, you know, Texas has been talked about forever. Everyone knows about Texas. There's always so much going on here. So I was like, let me tap in and see what the girls are talking about because there's always some chatter, right? So I looked at Dallas actually as well. I took a trip out there and the trip was cute. I made a girls trip out of it, so that was fun, but it just wasn't like giving. It was just too slow for me in my opinion, although I was only there for 3 days. I wasn't able to fully grasp what life is like there, right, in that short amount of time. But the time that I was there, it just didn't give what it needed to give. So then I was like, okay, you know, everyone talks about Houston. Everyone talked about Houston. In my opinion, at first, I was a little bit hesitant because I thought it was a little bit too rambunctious. I had never been prior to me, you know, thinking about moving. So I didn't know what it was gonna be like. Everyone did say it was super similar to Atlanta. So I was like, okay, like I've lived there. So it's like, I would, you know, acclimate fine. But I think what I was looking for was I needed a city that had, I didn't need it to be New York City that, you know, always has something to do at any time of the day, pre-COVID of course, but I just needed it to have, you know, just, you know what I mean, like have it accessible, at least have the options laid out, right? Like I don't have to do everything, and I'm not always the person who goes out and does, like, you know, I like to be out during the day. That's like my favorite thing. Day activities are my favorite. I like to be home 8, 9, you know what I'm saying, call it a night, and then redo the next morning, unless I have to go to work, of course. But that's like my kind of vibe. So I just needed the options to be out there. Dallas didn't really have that for me, in my opinion, at the time, but I knew that Houston would have the options. So after I decided it was gonna be Houston, I was like, boom. I was like, how are we gonna make this shake? What do we have to do? I just started really speaking into existence. Like, I think starting March was when I really started speaking into existence, I guess manifesting, obviously praying over. I've been praying for God to reveal, you know, the next stage or the next phase of my life. I always pray for my future. I'm a very future thinking person, so I'm always praying for my future. But I think specifically in January, I was like, God, I know that by May or June, I need to be in a new area, I need to be in a new city. And I just pray that you help me to figure out what that is for me and help me to have everything in order for when you tell me to move, right? So that was a continuous prayer the whole year, since the beginning of the year. And when I started applying to jobs in Houston for real, I was so fortunate. Like, the process was actually so simple for me. Thank God. I applied for a job within my field of work, and I got a job offer super quickly. Like, I remember when I interviewed for the position, I had the sense of peace that is very familiar to me at this point in my life, because it's a sense of peace that I've gotten every time I like that something is going to work out. It's like, it's literally like God just telling me it's already yours, you know, go for it, be yourself, show up as yourself, you're already qualified for the position, it's yours, go get it. Congratulations. That's literally what the feeling is like. It's almost like a hug, you know, a hug that calms all anxiety, all worries, and that I felt that feeling, and I was like, I'm gonna get it. Like, I'm gonna get it. So as soon as literally after the interview, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this job. I feel it in my spirit, and I need to find an apartment. So that's literally what I did. I worked with a locator down here, and I also did a lot of research on my own based off of the location of where my job was, and I wanted to be in the same area. So it's basically like a long story short of like that process of finding an apartment. I was able to find an apartment that was close to my job. It has everything that I need around it. Very much my vibe. A couple of my friends, after they watched my apartment tour, they texted me. They were like, this is literally you in an apartment. Like, I was like, yeah, it is. Like, so having the ability to find this space specifically, I found through a locator. So shout out to them. There are locators all over. If you're ever looking for an apartment, if you just go on Instagram and you type in, you know, Houston, Texas apartments or something, or Houston apartments, you'll find a whole bunch of locators who are posting apartments regularly. A lot of them have some type of reward that they offer if you do use their services, and it is free. So definitely I recommend that if you're looking to move down here anytime soon. And yeah, I even got like a move-in special moving here. So everything just worked out. When I say everything worked out perfectly, everything worked out so perfectly. It doesn't even make sense, but it does, right? Because I serve a living God who orders all of my steps. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much what the process was like for me. Moving down here, everything I went through, the thought process, how I found my apartment, all of that. Yeah, it's been a month now, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it. I love it. I feel so free. I feel so, I don't know, I feel so much more like myself. Like, I feel like I needed this space to really allow myself to be free and be me. You get me? Sometimes you just need this space to allow yourself to be you, and then it just radiates throughout the rest of your life, right? I have this space to be as creative as I want, to be as loud as I want, to be as expressive as I want, to just do whatever when I want to do it. And that's just something I needed. I needed that. I could not have done that with 3 roommates and a dog in my apartment, you know? So I'm just so grateful to be here in this space. And in Houston, overall, I was talking to one of my friends, and he was saying that people in Houston, they go out to have a good time. The energy is just good, like pure energy. People are really kind here, sweet. Something I had to get readjusted to, because in New York, like, that's not something you get off the bat. I don't know, I just feel like you can easily just make friends. I feel if you're pretty social, then you can make friends easily depending on where you go, how you decide to meet people. I think it's just about the energy and the people here. The people are really kind, and people are really open to meeting new people. No one's really like you know, I haven't gotten bad energy from a specific person yet. From work to just going out to getting, you know, going to the grocery store, even neighbors in my apartment complex, everyone's just really kind. Like, I just haven't gotten bad energy, you know? People greet you, they say good morning, they say, you know, how are you? Just all the other stuff that I was used to before and had to get unaccustomed to just because people in New York weren't like that. And it's just so great to have met that experience here again in the South. It's really the energy for me, and I'm just so expectant for what's to come. We are 1 month in and we are here for a while, okay? So I can't wait to continue to update you guys. If you have any questions about anything, please leave them down below and I'll try to respond to them to the best of my ability. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. My next video will probably be a chit chat, get ready with me. So if you guys have any questions that you probably want to ask me about my personal life, please follow me on Instagram because I'm gonna put a little, you know, Q&A box kind of thing so you guys can ask me those questions for whenever it's time for that video. My Instagram is DannyNuefo. All the links and everything are down below. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Honestly, I hope to see you in my next video. Hope you have a great week and I'll see you next time. Bye.